Who were you before you lost your wild self?
That's what we're helping you explore on the Tend Her Wild podcast.
Through questions and tools around how best to listen to your inner voice,
rewild ourselves, and live the most authentic life where we thrive instead of survive.
I'm Betsy.
And I'm Kate.
And we're so glad you've joined us for this episode. Hello, Tend Her Wild podcast. It's Kate and I today talking about a topic that we have gone back and forth about bringing forward to this podcast. And for many reasons, we're dragging our feet. And that topic is codependency.
No small topic.
No small topic. In fact, Kate was in yoga class yesterday, and afterwards we were agreeing. We're talking about codependency. And I don't remember who it was, but someone chirped up and said, "Oh, yeah, we need that one."
Yeah, please do.
So I think it's a topic that many people have heard the term. We want to break it apart. We want to talk about it in our own lives. And we also, last year, we reached out to Melody Beattie.
Kind of the expert on codependency.
Yeah. So she wrote in 1986, the now infamous book called Codependent No More.
Mm-hmm.
It's sold like 6 billion copies at this point, or 6 million. I mean, probably not 6 billion, 6 million copies. And we reached out to her to be on the podcast, and she agreed, but said, "I'm coming out with another book. I'm not doing anything until the following fall." And then since she has passed, she died of a heart attack. And so may she rest in peace. She certainly left a big legacy with beginning to help people better understand codependency. And so we want to honor her and her work and sort of bring this topic to light for our listeners.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready and excited to talk about this because
it's personal for both of us.
Personal.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's really personal. So let's start with what it is.
Mm-hmm. Let's define it.
And Melody Beattie, I love her definition because it's so simple. She's like, you love other people more than you love yourself.
Yeah. And that is it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And a very, hearing that, how do you feel when you say that?
Yeah. I mean, I do think at the heart of it is this lack of relationship to self. And I can think of many times throughout the course of my life when that has been the case, that I have put other people's needs well in front of mine. I don't know if at the time I would have defined it that I loved them more, but as I look back in retrospect, absolutely. I was loving them. I was putting them and their needs far ahead of mine. And in the process was losing my own self in the whole mix of it.
Yeah. I have the same experience. And when I hear that, it really kind of takes me back to those times and the way that our culture kind of also celebrates that.
Yes.
We celebrate women putting everyone else's needs above their own.
Yes.
I mean, people will say that, she was selfless.
Such a good wife, always thinking of her children's needs above her own.
Right. And so I feel like that was a very deep message for me early on, that really was survey, make sure everyone else is good, take care of everyone else. And if there's time left over, you get to maybe think about what you want.
And there's never time.
And there was never the more that the children, the lives you build, doesn't allow for that.
Yeah.
And so it's complicated, but it does feel like a very deep-seated message that I picked up on very young.
Well, and I would say, despite being a psychologist and going through graduate school, I didn't know a lot about codependency. And codependency actually isn't a diagnosis. There's nothing in the DSM about codependency. And so it wasn't anything that I learned formally in graduate school. But about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I ended up in Al-Anon.
Mm-hmm.
And Al-Anon is for family members of someone who is related to someone or in partnership to someone who's got alcoholism. And it was a really rough patch in my life. I remember being in tears at every meeting, being in a really rough spot as I was trying to come to terms with, that I was in a relationship to an alcoholic, and what did this mean for me? And I put my heels down a lot. Like I didn't like this idea that I perhaps was codependent, because I was still stuck in a victim story of like, I am the victim here. I'm the one being hurt here. And I wasn't yet ready to own my part in it, to own my behaviors in it, and to somehow sort of take back my own agency and control. There are moments where it feels better to be the victim, because you can be like, well, it's not my fault. I've been doing there's a self-righteousness that can come with codependence. And so that's when I really started to dig into this idea of codependence. I bought Codependent No More.
Yeah.
I bought her daily meditation book. I downloaded the app on my phone. Every day I got a little message about codependence. And so I would say these last 3 to 4 years for me, I've started to understand it. But early on, the idea of codependence was very confusing to me.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a topic that I had even talked to girlfriends around until, I learned about it in a similar way with my husband's alcoholic, background, and his own work, working through his addiction and healing work led to my healing work.
Yeah.
And there was a day, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but there was a day that I bought the book because I was doing my own, therapy around alcoholism and like you said, kind of exploring my role in things, or how I fit into the picture, I think is a better way for me to put it. And, but I bought the book and I came home and put it on my nightstand. And my husband, it was a couple days later, he's like, "Did you get a new book?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I looked and he had bought it and it was on his nightstand. So because we were both going through this healing work together, it landed on both of it was recommended for both of us.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. And so that led to conversations about, how, because there's codependence, and then there's also the impact it has on relationships. And
I would say codependence is all about our relationship patterns.
Yeah.
And I think it would be helpful for our listeners, because it's interesting. You can be an addict, an alcoholic, and be codependent, or you can be in relationship to an addict and be codependent, or you can have grown up without any addiction in your family, or not have any addictive people in your life and still be codependent. Right. So
what did you tell me? What's the percentage of people?
So I did a little deep dive on this, and one expert says that up to 90% of people show codependent behavior. Another study thinks it's a little bit lower, but in this study, they looked at college students, and 50 to 60% of college students show moderate to high levels of codependent behavior. Now, the original idea or term came from like the 1950s, 60s, 70s, when women, partners, often women, who were bringing their husbands to an AA meeting for their addiction, were together and were talking about how crazy they felt, that somehow their lives had become out of control because they were in partnership to someone with addiction. Can you relate to that?
Yes, I can.
So can I. So there's a sense of craziness, a sense of out of control. So then what does the codependent do? They start to control. They start to people please. Yep. They start to assume all the emotional labor. They become the martyr.
The fixer.
Right? The fixer. They deny their own needs. They repress their own emotions. Their self-esteem gets very low. And so originally codependence was related to partners of addicts.
And that's, I assume, how Al-Anon really started.
Yeah, it started because of
women started talking to each other.
And started talking. You feel crazy? I feel crazy, right?
Yeah. And then holding space for each other to process that.
Yeah.
Which I know is in so many of our topics, right? When we start to share our stories, we feel less crazy and we feel more connected and less alone, and we can learn from each other and support each other. So even in this conversation, knowing that 90% of people have that pattern.
Yeah, or show behaviors that are
toward that. Yeah.
People pleasing, control issues. I mean, they say control is the addiction of codependence.
Oh, wow. Say that again.
Control is the addiction of codependence. It's this high need to control the behaviors of other people around you so that you then feel okay.
Mm. The irony is, though, I think you don't really feel okay. You never really feel okay.
No, because the irony is we really can't ever control anyone.
It's a false sense.
It's a false sense. Yeah. And I can just speak personally that, again, I didn't know how codependent I was. And for me, it showed up definitely as people pleasing. It showed up as sort of this forgiveness, compassion. I mean, in some ways, they say codependents are some of the kindest people you know. Mm-hmm. It showed up as, letting people get away with things that didn't feel good to me, avoiding conflict,
right.
Feeling responsible for other people's well-beings, being that mother hen. But also, I think what was under the surface for me was like growing resentment. And I think resentment is such a piece of this. Like, I think it's also why at the age of 40, my body exploded into an autoimmune disorder, which I think was all that anger and resentment that I couldn't express, that I couldn't bring to the surface, that I couldn't work through. My body then was trying to deal with it. So I think resentment is also a big marker for people who are struggling with codependence, is that you're trying to do it all right. You're trying to make sure everyone is okay and staying out of trouble. And yet you feel resentful that you're taking all this on.
Right. And the pattern continues. You continue to do it. The resentment grows. Yeah. The responsibilities grow, right? With more children, with more, more need to, you believe you have more need to take on more things. And so, yeah, there's something about, we talked, it's a midlife awakening too, to realize that that this pattern has developed for you and grown over time, or it has for me. That's when I discovered it too. What's my role in it? And once you start to identify it, it's not like you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Oh God. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. But you do develop the self-awareness around it, and you can recognize when you are doing it.
Yes.
And you can, and we've talked about kind of some of the things we can do to address it, but it's the self-awareness piece that is, as all things, the first step.
Yes. Yeah. And as I think about it, I was engaging these behaviors also because I saw my mother engage these behaviors, and my mother was not married to an alcoholic. I think my mother had a father who had some traits of narcissism and was highly controlling and was large and in charge. And so she learned to people please and be good. But there was a conversation I listened to on a podcast with Melody Beattie, essentially about like, well, don't you think all women who are raised in a patriarchy are taught to be codependent? And Melody Beattie said, absolutely.
Yeah.
Women raised in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we were taught to people please. We were taught to bow to the man. We were taught to, repress down our needs, just meet the needs of your partner. Also, in the 50s and 60s and earlier, you were reliant on your spouse for safety.
Right.
And so you did, caregive over and above because that's what guaranteed your safety.
Right. I was going to say it was a
safety thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the quotes I pulled from her book is caretaking doesn't help. It causes problems. When we take care of people and do things we don't want to do, we ignore personal needs, wants, and feelings. We put ourselves aside. Sometimes we get so busy taking care of people that we put our entire lives on hold. Caretakers look so responsible, but we aren't. We don't assume responsibility for our highest responsibility, ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much, don't you think there's so much benefit and like positive reinforcement for being a good caretaker?
Yeah. And I do want to pull out, because you and I've talked about this, because I always got stuck on, well, it's my job to take care of my children.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
And so we do want to flesh that out, that children have Melody says.
Yes.
That there's a special relationship there, and that there's an exception.
Yeah, we can be legitimately codependent with our children. They do need our caretaking. They do need our focus. They do need our attention. So
I think about it with other adults.
Yes. And then I think once your children become adults, then you have to shift because suddenly if you keep helicopter parenting and taking care of all of their needs when they're 26 and they still expect you to be paying their bills, then we suddenly were enabling them.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that's a good distinction to make.
Yeah. 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 Because it can get when you're like, oh my God, I'm codependent with my 10-year-old. Yes, you are. You're supposed to be. That is legitimate. But when we're codependent with our 26-year-old, then we may need to step back and reflect on, why do I keep rescuing this person?
Yeah. And often we talk about it in the container of family and relationships, but it also can happen at work.
Yeah, you're a great person to talk about that. Yeah. What have you noticed in the workplace about this pattern of codependent behavior?
Yeah. I think when you have patterns of codependency at home, there's no ability to check that at the door when you enter the workplace. Yeah. So you're carrying that pattern with you. And so when you are either in a leadership position or a manager, or you have people under you, I think you tend to want to caretake for those people too.
And control
the things that are not yours to control in order to think you're being maybe a good leader or manager, or think you're showing up for people, but you can lose yourself even at work because you're so focused on everyone else. And so it's interesting how when you have that pattern, like any other pattern, it's woven throughout your life and in all the places that you show up.
Yeah.
And so, I think that, we're going to talk about some of the things that help us release the patterns. But when we do that at home, we also, I think, step into more power at work and be able to expand ourselves, because it takes when we're trying to control everything, think about how much energy that takes all day, right? For everyone, we're like surveying, like, what do I need to control? And so it doesn't have space for ourselves.
Yeah. And I think at sort of maybe the pinnacle of my enabling codependent behavior, sort of near the end of my relationship, I was expending so much energy. But it's this is the other thing about codependence. It's so subtle and sort of pervasive. Like, it's almost like the wolf in sheep's clothing. I think that's why I couldn't wrap my head around it for the longest time. And even at the start of me going to Al-Anon and sort of owning my own part in all of this, I was struggling with it because it is so subtle. And again, because as women, we've been encouraged to be people pleasing and caregiving and selfless and put them first and put your needs aside. And so it's hard to identify. I mean, I think when you start to feel crazy, you start to feel overwhelmed, you start to feel exhausted, you're like, I'm tired all the time.
Yeah.
These are some of the signals of like, oh, I need to step back. So when you were saying the expenditure of energy, yes.
Yeah.
I was freaking exhausted. And I think it's because I was bending over backwards, trying to control and make a situation better over which I actually didn't have that much control. You know?
Yeah. Well, let's talk maybe about some of the ways we can, if we recognize that pattern in ourselves, or maybe, what are some of the things we can do to evaluate whether we are showing some of those patterns.
Okay. And let's identify that this isn't pathological.
Right.
That we all engage in these behaviors. There's not a diagnosis here. But when we are engaged in a lot of codependent behaviors, we are tired. We are not connected to ourselves. We're putting other people's first. We're giving more than receiving. And it does add up to potential mental health and or physical health challenges. Right. So it's good to identify.
Yeah. One of the things, you find it hard to say no.
Yeah.
To people and things. Low self-esteem can start to become part of it. And we don't feel lovable because we're never focused on ourselves.
We're loving everyone else instead of ourselves. Yeah.
And we assume responsibility for other people's feelings.
Yeah.
So people that we're around, and I know for me, this is a big one. I would take on the feelings of other people, and then I would want to fix them.
Yeah.
So if you're walking around doing that, it's no wonder we're so freaking exhausted.
Yeah.
Because we're carrying everybody else's shit.
Yeah. That actually brings up another point, Kate. I listened to a podcast with Melody shortly before her death, I think just a couple months. And she mentioned she wrote her book, Codependent No More, in 1986, but she feels like codependence has been amping up, and that because of the times we're in and because of literally that we're living in a traumatized culture, she thinks more and more people are showing these signs of codependence than even when she first began to identify and write about it 30 plus years ago.
That seems crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I do think that there's something about these times and the trauma of these times that is causing us to be more reactive and to sort of be trying to control the uncontrollable, which is exhausting us. And this feeling of, trying to make everything better for everyone else, which literally we only have control over ourselves.
Right. Yeah, that feeling of things being out of control, I think when that's culturally happening like it is right now, that is where naturally we go to what
the old patterns, right?
What can I control today in this uncontrollable world? Well, I think I can help control this person, what they need, and take care of them. And it's not to suggest that we shouldn't be showing up for people right now, because we absolutely should. It's just doing
if
it.
Our bucket is full, right? If our cup is full,
we can't do that from a place of depletion.
Exactly.
And so often that's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So
we want to share with our listeners, 5 different ways that you can begin to maybe break out of the habit of codependent behavior. And you already mentioned one of them, which is just self-awareness.
Mm-hmm. Like so many things, it starts with that, right?
Yeah.
Knowing ourselves, recognizing the patterns, turning inward for what we need to know about ourselves. And that can happen, like you said, in the context of Al-Anon or being in a group or talking with others about it. It can happen in therapy.
Yeah, I think therapy is a really good place to identify it.
Yeah.
Or please, everyone buy Melody Beattie's book, Codependent No More. I really love her. There's like one that it's a daily meditation every day. Yeah. And so I literally keep it in my toilet and it's next to my toilet. And I do. I just will read, okay, it's this date. What do I need to remind myself of today?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sam, founder of the Local Hub. When I moved to Iowa City, I felt like a tourist, and I'm sure you can relate if you've ever moved somewhere new or just haven't explored your city in years. Supporting local has never been more important, and the Local Hub makes it simple. It's a community-first way to uncover the local businesses, events, and hidden spots that make an area feel like home. If you're in the Iowa City area, you'll find us online, in print, and on social media, all designed to keep you in the loop about what's happening here. Visit thelocalhub-ic.com and start living like a local.
So yes, doing that
self-awareness work is key. The second thing that I really like is, and this is one that you can, journal about, is put a pen in your hand and start to literally write out what are your actual responsibilities in specific relationships. What am I actually responsible for in this marriage? What am I actually responsible for as an employee? What am I actually responsible for in terms of this friendship? And I think that's a pretty powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sheds light on what all the extra labor we're doing that may not be ours to do.
Yes.
And that's where the overwhelm and the depletion comes in, because we are taking on things that are not our responsibility.
Becoming the martyr. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we said, that pattern shows up one place, it's probably showing up somewhere else, and it amplifies. I think so much. I mean, COVID unearthed a lot, but burnout for women was, twice as high as men.
Yeah.
Anxiety and depression, twice as high for women.
Yeah. Even before COVID, depression and anxiety has always been higher.
So then you throw that on top of it. And they said that, women were being asked to take on the emotional labor at work, managing people's feelings. Like, so-and-so's struggling, Carol, can you talk to her? Right. And so we get relied on as women often to do those things, to, check in on people, which is great, except when we then do more and try to help control
it. It feels good because we're good at it.
Yeah.
We're like, I can talk to Carol. I can help make Carol feel better. And if we're not careful, it can consume us and deplete us. Yeah.
Yeah.
The third one is spiritual sovereignty. And, Brenda Crawford brought this up.
Our latest guest
who was dealing with a big cancer diagnosis and
terminal illness.
One of the things that helped her is acknowledging that everybody has their own spiritual sovereignty, including her children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is huge for us to acknowledge that whatever someone is going through, they've created that, they've made choices, their life has led to this point. And even if I have the tools or the know-how to help them or to somehow rescue them, it's not going to help them.
We can't do people's work for them.
And it definitely doesn't help us. No. I mean, we might feel good about ourselves because, oh, wow, I was a really good mother, or I was a really good friend to that person, but we're just, in a way, prolonging their lesson.
Right. Trying to control it for them or
make it better somehow.
Yeah. And that kind of detaching from,
which is the fourth one,
right?
Detachment. Yes.
There's, I think about threads, like where are you too connected? Like where are you tied into things that are not yours to be tied into?
Yeah.
So talk about detachment.
Yeah. And I think detachment gets a bad rap. I mean, especially as women who are wired to feel and need connection, we sort of have this idea that detachment means that I'm going to be sort of this cold, hard bitch. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be perceived that way. I'm not that way. I'm someone who's warm and engaged and empathic. So you can still be warm and engaged and empathic and have a sense of detachment, which again, I mean, it really is such a good follow-up to spiritual sovereignty in that I love you and I feel your pain, and I trust that you're going to figure out how best to work with it. So I'm here for you, but I'm not rescuing you. I'm not enabling your bad behaviors. I'm not, but I'm still listening. I'm still present.
Right.
I'm just not, making it all better for you.
Yeah. I know you hear lots of analogies like, the stuff you have in your backpack that's not yours to be carrying around. Right. And when you start to empty that out, the lightness you feel like, oh, that's not mine to carry. That's not mine. We can still hold space for people and be present for people and care for people without then leaving that conversation and putting it in our own backpack.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, as you're saying that, it makes me think about my work as a psychologist. If I were to take on all of the stuff that gets unpacked in my room in one day, I would not be a healthy person.
Right.
So, but I'm kind and I'm compassionate, I'm present and I'm empathic, and whatever that person shares with me, I leave.
Yeah.
I let it go. As soon as they walk out, it's not on my mind anymore.
Yeah.
So
same thing with coaching.
Yeah, same with coaching.
That.
Yeah. You can't. I mean, maybe early on I did take on some of my clients' stuff, and I learned very quickly that I'm not going to be able to last very long in this profession if I choose to carry this with me.
Yeah. I sometimes think, and I'm being vulnerable here, when I left practicing law, it was in large part because I was carrying other people's stuff. And I didn't have the self-awareness to know that there were that I was doing it, first of all. And secondly, that there were ways for me to not do that.
Yeah.
And so I would look at other lawyers, even my husband, and be like, how do you not, my heart was breaking for so many things that were not in my control. And as a lawyer, you're advocating for people and you're in a role where you're supposed to be giving voice to people.
Yeah.
And so it was really challenging for me. And I think now I'm not going back, but
I was just thinking, is Kate going
not making an announcement
that she's going back to law?
But if I did, how differently I would do it.
Yeah.
How much I've learned about myself. And that's why I'm kind of passionate. I feel like we need to teach that in law school.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you not take on
self-care and not taking on other people's stuff, giving other people responsibility for their stuff.
So that healthy detachment, I think, is what we're talking about.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean no attachment. It just means we're not walking around with.
Yeah. And then the last one is quite simple, but I think could revolutionize many of our lives. And it's the idea of the pause.
I love the pause in so many ways.
Yeah. So it's not reacting. It's not jumping in. Oh, I'll take care of that. Oh, yep, I can help out with that. Oh, yes, I'll do that. It's like really pausing and I'll get back to you and let you know if I can help out with that.
Yeah.
It's giving yourself the space to really go in and discern. And I know for myself, Kate knows this about me and probably my close circle does. I'm a slow processor. I have a quick mind, but I don't make decisions quickly, which means that I'll get an invitation, I'll get a text, and I don't respond right away because I need to move through my own emotional wave. I need to move through my own process. I need to because there's a part of me that wants to say yes. And there's a part of me that's like, oh, but I'm so exhausted. I don't know. And so I have to sit in things for a while before I can respond, which unfortunately for people who are close to me and are like, why isn't she responding to this text? It's usually because I'm like, I don't know. I have to listen. I don't know what I need. I don't know if this works. I need to wait. And so there is something powerful about giving yourself space to pause, but it might be slightly unpopular because we are in a fast moving time where people want instantaneous,
a text. Yeah. Answer.
Yeah.
Yes or no. That's the culture we live in. And so the pause, there's so much power in the pause in so many things, but in decision making, because we are more apt to make a decision based on what we truly know to be right, like what the answer is. If we pause, if we react to everything, then we're gaining that from what we think other people need. And it's the essence of codependence, right? It's like, oh, that person needs me to be there. I'll go.
Yeah.
we don't actually pause to say, how do I feel about that invitation? Or how, what else is going on that I might, want or need to do for myself. And so,
and I think we can expand this for a moment, this idea of the pause, into even our social media consumption, because I have this sense that people with codependent tendencies have these sort of sensitive nervous systems that do feel into other people's needs and emotions and then try to meet those. So if you think about social media, we're sort of, our nervous system is attaching into the nervous system of the culture, which right now is freaking crazy and chaotic and dysregulated. And so it's also like maybe pausing before you jump on Instagram, or maybe giving yourself your first hour of the day to not be scrolling, to sort of establish yourself in your own nervous system versus tapping into the cultural nervous system, which is clearly dysregulated. So, it's like
kind of feeds codependence.
It can feed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking on the intensity of other people's perspectives or stories. And so, that could be a whole nother episode as I open that can of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the bottom line is our culture is challenging on so many levels.
It is.
And yet I always like to look for, where do I actually have control? And that's in my own inner self, and understanding myself better, getting clear on what it is I want and need. And, to me, that's been my work to combat my codependence, is to allow myself to, and sometimes it's uncomfortable. It's not easy to always go in, right? There's a lot in there, a lot to unpack, but that's where, to me, the answers are. And if you walk through life just looking for who needs me next, you'll
find it.
Yep. People will suck you right in.
Yeah.
And so it's a balancing act, like all things. And it's as much patterning as, the time that's taken to build this pattern, it takes as much time, to
unravel. And I do think with codependence, again, because there's not there's no treatment for it. It's just a relational behavioral pattern. We just have to be aware of it. We're all going to find ourselves back in those situations where we're controlling or people pleasing or saying yes when we mean no.
Yeah.
And we can catch ourselves, and then we can pause, and then we can do it different next time. So great compassion for all of us. And I'm sure everyone related to this conversation, because, 90% of us are showing these behaviors. So
we're not alone.
You're in good company.
Yes, you are.
All right. This was helpful today. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Betsy.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Come back and rewild with us again next week.